Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode of WoTC Academy, we will be looking at how to play the T110E5 American Heavy Tank. This is a tank that is considered to be a good all-rounder heavy tank amongst all of the Tier 10 heavy tanks. And it is because of this reason that many people do not understand how to play it to the best of its abilities. So today, we will be looking at important aspects to know about the T110E5, how to set up the T110E5, as well as how to play the tank, and then we will close with some gameplay. So let's get started. Now the armor of the T110E5 is pretty good frontally, with front armor ranging from 127mm to 304mm on the mantlet, with your only front weak spots being the cupola and the lower plate. The cupola is pretty trollish, as when trying to shoot the cupola, I have found that some rounds should have penned when they should have bounced, and bounced when they should have penned. Now, looking at the armor on top, I would like to warn that it is very, very weak, and you are going to be a target for artillery. And more than likely, you may get caught on fire if hit directly on the engine deck. Now, in terms of mobility of the T110E5, the E5 has an average speed of 37 km per hour forward and 12 km per hour reverse, so you won't be getting anywhere quickly. Now, with a 20% chance of fire, I recommend running a fire extinguisher, but if you have firefighting and or preventative maintenance equipped on your crew, you can forgo running fire extinguisher. Looking at the gun is pretty decent at .35 accuracy, and with an aim time of 2 seconds and a 10-second base reload, you will have no trouble putting rounds down range quickly. Now with 8 degrees of gun depression, you should be able to comfortably fight on ridge lines without too many issues. Now, as for how to set up the T110E5, I personally run 22 AP, 20 heat, and 0 HE. You, of course, can run HE rounds if you want, but I personally do not because I'm not a fan of regular HE rounds and I prefer HESH. In terms of consumables, I run 2 repair kits and 1 first aid kit, as I find myself getting tracked and ammo racked quite frequently, but I recommend running a repair kit, first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher if you do not have any of the fire or preventative maintenance skills on your crew. Now, of course, if you have those skills or perks trained, you could exchange the fire extinguisher for like my setup or food if you want. Now, looking at equipment on the T110E5, I personally run gun rammer, vertical stabilizer, and vents because I want to improve the gun handling and the crew as much as possible. You, of course, could swap an equipment slot for optics if you want, but since I play this heavy tank on the front lines, I do not run any optics. Now, how do you play the T110E5? The E5 is a good all-rounder as a heavy. It is able to brawl up close and personal like other heavies, but is also capable of being a good pseudo-medium heavy tank, as it is flexible enough to take on various roles. As a brawling heavy, use your faster reload and aim time to quickly chip away at enemy tanks and overall get shots on weak spots. As a pseudo-medium heavy, use your flexibility to get better positions over your enemies and support the medium's advances. But overall, the important thing when fighting is I tend to try and fight by trying to hide my cupola and lower plate as much as possible, as these are weak spots and enemies will aim at them the most. This means fighting alongside terrain and buildings that are on the left side of the tank, or fighting on left-hand corners. That overall covers how to set up and play the T110E5. So let's look at some gameplay. So here we are on Redshire 1944. It is a standard battle and I am starting on the north spawn. Now already I am taking a chalk of the lineups on the team. I'm looking at who is more than likely going to go where. I was going to try and speed past the 705 but he wasn't going to slow down, and I really needed to get over to the left as soon as I could. So I ended up getting stuck there on his tracks before I could slow down and move away from him. So, but he ended up stopping and letting me go. Anyway, I let the team know that we need to go down the 9-0 line. That is because I know that heavy tanks will tend to go there to fight, and that is another reason why I am going to go there. I know that there are some tall rocks that will allow me to fight with them on the left side of my tank, as well as the fact that there are numerous hills and ridges, as well as defilades for me to be able to use my 8 degrees of gun depression to fight effectively on against the enemy team here. Now I'm staying right in the middle between these two rocks, so that way I could react based on the intensity of the enemy tanks on either side of this rock right here. If you remember the map walkthrough I did of one of the maps here, I believe it was this Redshire, I mentioned how the enemy team will tend to fight on both sides. Well, I don't really need to cover it that much, other than the fact that it's smarter to fight on the left side of the rocks, but you know, I need to hide my cupola, and so it just wasn't a good idea. I noticed that my teammates push up to here where I'm at right now. That was good for us because that provided us leverage and more cover and flexibility to push on the enemy team here. So basically what you're seeing here is I'm using the 8 degrees of gun depression and the angling of my tank to be able to get very good shots down upon the enemy, and you see that I am bouncing shots, and that is just because the turret armor, as well as the angle that I have providing with the round hull that I have, is making it very hard for them to get a pen at the angle that I am right now. I won't lie that in certain parts they are still able to pen me, cupola being one of them, as well as they may get a really good side shot on my tracks. Now you see here that right now the snapshotting ability up close and personal is very, very good, and that is almost all I do in this game here. Is I don't even need to aim. That is how up close and personal, in your face, I get with the T110E5. It is just a very, very flexible tank. And unfortunately I'm not even prioritizing. We got enough firepower and non-verbal focus fire going on right now that it is just whatever tank comes near us is we just all focus fire, and you are seeing that even with arty support we are just dominating them right now. They can't push on us, but the angle that we have, we are able to push on them. And so right here I'm focusing the 215B because it's got a faster reload than I do, and I was considering burning one of my repair kits just because of that fact. Now the only tank that I really was concerned about was the FV4202, and the reason simply is just that its armor is unpredictable when fighting on ridge lines. I know how to defeat it, just I don't have the gun depression to outgun depression the 4202. Now here comes the Yak Tiger pushing up. I wasn't focusing in that match. I'm unaware if he damaged me via ram and a teammate of his hit me. But you notice that I reacted very quickly, putting my front armor towards him, and I face hugged him, knowing that I'd stand a better chance of him not penetrating me if I was up against him with my strongest armor. And I put a side shot in, trying to whittle down his health, and I also alerted my team, saying that he's coming over the ridge, and they took care of him really quickly before any major damage was dealt. It is at this point now you can see we have absolutely dominated the enemy team. It is now just a cleanup operation. I rush down here. I know that there's a heavy tank on my right hand side. He gets taken out by Arty. The Arty was on point this entire time. This is one of those moments where you're like happy to have Arty on your team, but you hate it when you're getting shot at by it. Thankfully I was ignored for the most part by artillery, and that allowed me to just completely focus on taking down the enemy. But I focused on the 4202 just because I wanted to get him out. The team was focusing him out, so that focus fire is nice. And like I said, the artillery took him out, just lickety split. Right here, I was looking to find out which shot on which artillery I had the best shot on. It was going to be the Conch GC. I put one shot in. I don't bother rushing towards artillery because I know the medium tanks are faster than me and they're going to take care of them before I do. It is at this point here that nothing else major happens. It's just me heading towards the tank, but again, my 37 kilometers per hour speed is not going to get me there at all. So it is at this point here that I have effectively done over 7,000 total damage dealt. As you can see, I almost ran out of standard rounds. That's how many rounds I put down range. But I did over 7,000 total damage dealt. Yes, I do count assisted damage as damage dealt because it counts towards marks of excellence. But overall, a very good game of the T110E5. You're going to see here that I do exactly, let's see here, I do 7,162 total damage dealt. I block 2,800 damage. I get the high caliber medal. I get the Confederate medal because I wasn't really focusing on kills, more just that high output damage there. And as you can see, top of the leaderboards. Overall, that concludes today's video on how to play the T110E5. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. But until next time, this has been Darren of WoTC Academy.